Welcome back to the channel, folks. So I'm going to step away from this thing I've been doing about trucking and investing. Obviously, a lot of people are not interested in that. The last couple of videos I put out, one got 60 views and one got, I think, 40, 45, something like that. So obviously that's telling me that people are not interested in investing money and bettering themselves. Go figure. So, anyway, I'll probably get back on that kick before too long, but right now I'm stepping away from it and I'm doing this video. It's something that I thought of on the way here. I'm at a receiver. I deliver, 7 o'clock in the morning here. And I was thinking of something. A subscriber had asked a question a few videos ago, probably several videos ago, and it came across in my mind. I happened to think of this. And he asked, he was thinking about getting into trucking. Should he go with a small carrier or should he go with a mega carrier? A big trucking company. So I was thinking about doing a little video here about my experience. I've got a little over 20 years. Coming up this month, actually, at the end of this month, it'll be 25 years that I have been in trucking. And as I've said on here before, I've had several family members that were in trucking. My father, grandfather, a lot of people in my family were truck drivers. So it's not just my experience. I'm going way back, with some of their experiences that I remember them telling me about as well. Truck driving is evolving. The trucking industry is evolving, and not in a good way, in my opinion. I mean, that's just my opinion. It's not evolving in a good way. It used to be, I guess, in the United States, smaller, independent, smaller family type businesses were king, if you want to look at it that way. They were king because there wasn't that much corporate trucking in trucking. Now it seems like there's corporations everywhere. I just saw the other day Snyder bought Cowan Logistics for whatever, millions and millions of dollars. Back in the 70s and the 80s, something like that was unheard of. And now it's just like everyday common news. So, I don't like that direction that everything is going myself. I'm an old school mentality type person. So when you ask me, should I go with a small company or a big company, my answer probably always will be go with the small company. But I wanted to give you some examples of how, small companies have got their drawbacks too. I want to be fair on this channel. I do. I want to be fair. And a story popped into my head that I remember my dad telling me a long time ago. We lived in rural Arkansas, and he worked for a farmer. He worked for a cotton gin in this small rural Arkansas town. And he asked my dad, the farmer asked my dad if he would take the cotton truck over to a larger town near us and drop some cotton off. And my dad said, sure. I mean, I'll do that. No problem. He went and jumped in the truck. He took off. He got down the road and, I can't remember the exact situation, This would have had to have been back in the early 70s, whenever I was just a small child. And something came out in front of him, either another car, a deer, an animal, something ran out in front of him. He went to hit the brakes, and the brake pedal went all the way to the floor, stuck in the floor, and he kept right on going. So he turned the truck around, he went back, and he was having to gear it down, a manual transmission. He was having to gear it down to stop it. And he pulled in, and he said, and the guy was like, "Why are you back already?" And he said, "Well, this is what happened, and I couldn't stop. The truck has no brakes on it, like zero brakes on it." And the guy said, "And? I know that." And Dad was like, "I'm loaded and I can't stop. What do you expect me to do?" And he said, "You shift it down, you downshift it to stop." And he said, "Well, what if I get in an emergency like I just did and I can't downshift fast enough to stop? What do I do?" And he said, "Well, the steering wheel works, right?" And he said, "I guess. Well, what does that have to do with anything?" "Well, swerve and keep from hitting them." I mean, today and nowadays and, modern times, that's just unheard of, right? I mean, that would just be absolute stupidity. I think back then that was a common thing, I mean, vehicles were not up to standards like they are now. People didn't do the maintenance on them the way they did. The DOT wasn't out the way that they are now. And people were cheap. I mean, let's just be honest. People were cheap. And small companies wanted to save any way they could. If that meant, throwing safety and common sense out the window to make a buck, hey, they were good with it. So a lot of this evolving is good, and a lot of this evolving to mega carriers and all is bad. So I have an experience of my own with a small company. One that I have several, but one that popped into my head on the way down here. I was out in Nevada one time. I was on this normal route. I worked for a small company. He had maybe 8 trucks. This was early 2000s. And really nice, beautiful truck I had. Everybody thought it was an owner-operator truck. It was an extended hood Freightliner Classic XL, stainless steel visor, chicken lights all over the truck. Beautiful truck. I mean, it wasn't tacky. It was, nice, beautiful truck. And I was out in Nevada with it, and was driving down the road, and all of a sudden the air quit working. It was hot, summertime. This was a black truck, by the way. Black truck. And, chicken lights and chrome. That's what it was. And the air just stopped. And I was thinking, this guy, I know I work for him, and I know he's a cheapskate, and he doesn't like spending money. And it's going to get hot. And it's going to get real hot, real quick. And this was back before cell phones and everything. We didn't have cell phones. And pulled into a TA out in Nevada. Walked over to the shop, and I said, "Hey, I got this truck, and the air quit working." Well, they thought it was my truck because it looked like an owner-operator truck, and they didn't even question me. And they said, "Yeah, we're not busy. Pull it on in. We'll diagnose it and check it out." And they said, "We think either the expansion valve or the orifice tube, whichever one it had, maybe it had both. One of those is stopped up, or your compressor has went out." So let's replace the compressor, pull your Freon out, replace your compressor, the orifice tube, the expansion valve, fill it back up and see what happens. And I said, yeah, go for it. Not my truck, company truck. But I knew this guy I worked for was a cheapskate. So it's better, what is that old saying? It's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. So that was kind of the way I was with that. I was just going to ask for forgiveness after I got it fixed. And went in there, I got it fixed. It was just ice cold. It was just blowing great. Called the company and told him, hey, I pulled into this shop. My air wasn't working right. Had them check it out and everything. Oh, no, you didn't get that air fixed on the road. And I said, yeah, they said it was real simple. It was just simple fix. I played dumb. And he was like, how did you pay for it? And I said, well, that's the thing. I have it. And he said, you expect me to pay for that? And I said, well, I mean, they're wanting the bill paid. And he said, why didn't you call me? And I said, I was hot and I wasn't thinking. Which I was thinking, but I was going to ask for forgiveness. I wasn't going to ask for permission. So we went back and forth on the phone for a few minutes, and it was a cheap fix for today's standards. I guess it was high back then. I was thinking somewhere around the $300 or $400 range, maybe something like that. And I thought he was just going to stroke out on the phone. I mean, he was just screaming. You could hear him just, having him an absolute panic attack on the phone when I told him the bill amount. And anyway, he ended up paying it. So, I mean, back in the 70s, my dad went through that with the brakes. I went through that in the early 2000s with the air conditioning. I've noticed with this company here that I work for, this is a company truck, and I work for a company, they don't act like that. I mean, they don't act like that. If something goes wrong with the truck, they're like, go somewhere and get it fixed. It's just a mentality that they have, especially if it's something safety related, or whatever. Their first thing is, can you make it back? Do you think you can make it back with it? And I'm, depending on what it is, and I tell them, which I haven't had that much trouble out of this truck, but I know their mentality here. And they're like, well, as soon as you get it back, write it up and get it fixed. Or, if it's something else, then get it fixed on the road or whatever. They're not cheapskates. They don't act like cheapskates. So I think that's the thing that a lot of people get stuck on, when they're looking for a company. They think if I go with a mega carrier, a big mega carrier trucking company, you name it, Swift, Warner, JB Hunt, Snyder, whoever, Crete. I mean, that's a big one that's going around on YouTube is Crete. Everybody thinks Crete's the greatest thing since sliced bread for some reason. And they think, I get with that company. I have good benefits. I have good pay. I get everything I want plus a new truck. I work for this small company that's got 25 trucks. I've got a new Cascadia, which is not anything to jump up and down and scream about, but it's a good truck. It gets the job done, right? And air works, heat works, good tires on it. This company just gave me a new hoodie the other day. Didn't even ask. The new hoodie. If you ever wonder why I've got this on my shirt, it's because I'm covering up the name of the company that I work for. It's a little piece of electrical tape that I put over my shirt. I don't want to advertise for them. But I will say what I feel about them. I mean, the company I work for doesn't matter to me. It's just the fact that if I had something bad to say about them, I would. I would say something bad about them. It was hard getting used to it when I first started here. It was hard getting used to it because I was an owner operator that I booked my own loads. I was the boss. And I really thought it would be hard getting used to this. And it was in a way because, they want to run miles here. And I wasn't used to running miles. Running miles as an owner operator is your enemy. I'll explain that in another video. But I wasn't used to running, 2,800 miles a week. I was used to running 13 to 1,500 miles a week as an owner operator and making more money with that than what I do here as a company driver, hitting close to 3,000 miles a week. So, should you go to work for a smaller company? I guess it depends on what is going on with you. Here's one thing that I hear a lot of new drivers, newbie into the trucking industry saying, and I hear it on YouTube a lot when I listen to, some other YouTubers talking about this. I heard this guy actually saying this, and I don't remember the company he worked for, but it was a big mega carrier, and he had quit his job or was thinking about quitting his normal job, not in trucking, before he got into it. And a family member walked up with an advertisement or something that they saw and said, hey, this trucking company is hiring. And he looked at it and said, oh, wow, do you think they would hire me? And I'm just, when I hear that after being in trucking for 25 years, it's just poof, like the top of my head explodes. What do you mean, will they hire you? Some of these mega carriers will hire anyone with a pulse. You only have to have 2 brain cells and a pulse, and they'll throw you behind the wheel of a truck and send you out. So what do you mean, will they hire me? Yes. Yes, they will hire you. Okay? To answer your question, yes, they will hire you. This one will, and 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 this one will. I'm not trying to be mean about it, but it's just the fact of the matter. They will hire you. Yes. Yes. My thing is, what do you want? Not what they want, not what the trucking company wants, not what the mega carriers want, not what the small companies want. What do you want? That's the thing. I have quit companies, really good companies that I liked working for, because I stood my ground with them. And it's true. There was one that I can think of that I worked in Little Rock. I'm not going to say the name of the company. They started out small. They got to medium size. They even got almost to, upper medium sized level company. And my job with them was like a fill-in type driver. They did enough to keep me busy, but I wasn't just, busting out 3,000 miles a week. I was fill-in. And they paid me a flat salary, which was odd for back then to pay somebody a flat salary. They said, we just need somebody if we need to go get a load done real quick and everybody is busy out on a run, we need you to where we can just grab the load and run and go get it done. It was like a super regional slash day cab position. And with a little bit of OTR mixed in too. It's a very odd situation. But came to that down to the end of the week. I was about to go home. I had weekends off with this job. And I was about to go home. I asked everyone in dispatch, do I have anything to do? Are we done? No, you're done. You're done for the week. Let's just go home. And went to go get in the truck, went to go home. I got a phone call. And then this guy was arrogant as all get out on the phone and said, if you don't get that truck back here now, I will call the state police and have you arrested. And I said, for what? I'm going home. No, you're not. Get the truck back here. I didn't know what was going on. It just happened the owner of the company came in right after I left and asked where I was. Everyone said I went home, and he wasn't having it. So he wanted me to work that weekend, and I said, I'm not doing it. And I could have. That's the thing. I could have worked that weekend to keep my job. And it was a good job, and I liked it. And I had a brand new truck that I had picked out. Everything was great about this company. I had the mentality, if I let him push me like that this good job would be done. That from then on, I would be his little B word. You can fill in the blank there. And he could manipulate me and do whatever he wanted to with me whenever, however. And I wasn't having it. And I stood my ground with him and I said, no, I got this job. I got weekends off. I'm going home and that's it. And I ended up bringing the truck back to the terminal. He met me there and said, that's it. You don't do what I say, go home. And I said, bye. I'm leaving. I'm going home. And I went home. And I quit the job. It was one of them things where we just butted heads. He wasn't willing to give and I wasn't willing to give, and it just fell apart at that moment. And you may say, well, what has that got to do with all of this discussion? In my opinion, you would never get to that point with a mega carrier. You would never get to that point with a mega carrier. It is, you do as we say, when we say. We tell you where to get fuel, what route to go on. We will tell you when you can go home, how long you can go home. We are in control of everything. Okay? That's what I get out of a mega carrier. We are in control of everything. You are in control of nothing besides the truck. And you're very limited in control of the truck. That's the way I see it. Now, you may see it different. That's the way I see it. With a smaller company, even though you're going to butt heads, you're going to have little issues here and there, everybody's got to pass the DOT rules and regulations. Everybody, when they roll across a weigh scale, everyone should be treated the same way. Should be. So why not get what you want out of it instead of working for someone that they get everything that they want and you are just a yes sir or a yes ma'am. What I mean by that is they're like, here's your next load. You're going out. Yes, sir. I will go do that. Yes, ma'am, I will go do that. That's never been me. That's never been me. That's why I don't like the whole mentality of a mega carrier. That's why I want to work for smaller companies where I have more say in it. One thing that just popped into my head, that same guy that I worked for, that I had the air conditioning issue deal with, that guy, even though he was quirky to work for and he had his little, temper tantrums and meltdowns and stuff like that, when you walked in his office, he had all of the BOLs laid out on this table. There was this big, wood top metal leg table laid out, and all the BOLs were laid out. And it was such a laid back, relaxed atmosphere. It was the owner, his wife, and a dispatcher. That's all that worked in there. And when you walked in, they knew your name because there was only 8 or 10 drivers that worked for the company. And they would point over to the table, and say, "There's loads, pick what you want." And I was like, when I first started, I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "That's the loads for the week. That's what we've booked. Everyone's going to have a load." Even the worst load they had wasn't bad. So, you just picked what you wanted. If they had a load going to North Carolina, you wanted to go there, you went to North Carolina. If they had a load going to, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, whatever, you wanted to go there instead, you took it. It was a laid back, comfortable atmosphere. I don't think I could get that out of any mega carrier. I don't think I could pick my home time. We could stand there and talk in the office with this little company that I'm talking about. They're no longer in business. Not a fault of theirs. Something happened and they got shut down. And it really wasn't their fault of what happened. But it was a driver error that caused them to get shut down. But that trucking company there was really, truly like being part of a family. It was. And I still know the guy to this day. And he's still a little quirky. I'll be honest, he's still a little quirky to this day. But he, if you come in and you said, "Hey, I have a problem here and I need to go home. I know you need to get your loads covered, but I have this problem. I need to go home. I need to get it addressed." I know what his answer would be. Go home and take care of your stuff. The loads can wait. Are you going to come back later today or tomorrow? Or do you need to take a few days off? And that's just the way he was. You come first. Not the truck, not the loads, not anything. And you say, well, that's why he got his trucking company shut down. No, it was because of a driver error. This driver did something really, really stupid, and it cost the company the business. And it was actually so wrong that happened. That's why I don't like CSA. That's why I don't like CSA right there. CSA rules and everything. A mega carrier, a big trucking company can screw up over and over and over and over and over. And they've got a perfect CSA score. A small company can screw up one time and they're done. And it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair the way it is set up. I really think that people, just in general speaking here, people are not giving the small companies enough of a chance anymore. I don't think they are. They want to get on YouTube, and all this is how it is working for Prime, and all this is how it is working for Crete, and this is how it is working for Heartland. I hear this all the time. Well, why don't you tell the truth and you've been out on the truck for 3 weeks straight and they let you come home for 2 days and then you go back out for 3 weeks straight again? Your schedule's all over the place. You're working days, you're working nights, you're working 3 a.m. picking up a trailer somewhere, and you're sleeping during the day and driving at night. Or you come home and you don't even have a home to come home to because you've been out on the road so long that you just feel like, when you get home, nobody even knows your name. I'm not giving my whole life to a mega carrier. I'm not giving my whole life to a company. I want to get something out of it for me. So that's why I choose small companies. And I always have, and I probably always will. I work for 2 mega carriers, one by choice and one because it wasn't my choice. The first one was MS Carriers in Memphis, Tennessee, but they work like what I'm talking about. They even had a saying there one time, and this was back on paper logs, and they would say, this is like a buffet. You can eat all you want, but you're going to eat all you take. Meaning, if you agreed to a load and it put you out to where you didn't get home on the weekends, that's on you. You're going to do that load. You will do that load. If you don't want it, then say, I don't want it. I want to go home. And they worked with people. Now, Swift bought them out. When Swift come in, everything was different. From day one, when Swift took over, everything was different. You will do it our way. You will get fuel when we tell you to. You will get the amount of fuel we will tell you to. I remember that one of the first times that I stopped and got fuel for Swift. I only worked for them for about 3 months because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle that company. And they sent me a message. We had the old style Qualcomms had a little tiny screen at the top, and the whole thing was a keyboard. I mean, this was old stuff. And I heard that thing go off, and it said, stop at such and such truck stop and get 50 gallons of fuel. And I thought, why in the world would I want to do that? That is the dumbest thing in the world. And I looked down and I was below 1/4 of a tank. So when I got to the truck stop, I went in and used the phone and I called Swift. And I said, why did you tell me this on the Qualcomm? What are you talking about? And I said, it says to stop here and get 50 gallons of fuel. Yes, that's what we're telling you to do. Why? Because that's all we want you to get. And I was like, why? And they were, they were like, well, why are you asking? And I said, because this is dumb. Well, excuse me, but this is our company and we run it the way we run it. I'm sorry it doesn't fit what you think that we should do, but that's our truck and we are in control of it, and we only want you to get 50 gallons of fuel because we will have another fuel plan for you later. And I just told them on the phone, well, you know what? I'll go out and I'll fill the truck up. How about that? And they said, you can try. And I went out, I went to fill the truck up, and it shut off at 50 gallons. That's all it would give me. Why do you want to go through this? Why do you want to give them all of you? Why do you want to be told everything to do, how to do everything, exactly the way they want you to do it? You're giving up your life. You're giving up everything to them. You're just giving all of yourself. And I would almost bet you that if you tried, you could probably find a smaller company to work for, that you got more home time, that the company treated you better. And I would go so far as to say you could probably make more money too. But everyone wants to go with these big mega carriers because they have the name. When you say trucking, people automatically say Prime, Swift, Warner, JB Hunt. That's the definition of trucking. I think it's a sad day for trucking when that is the name of trucking. That's not the way it used to be. Yes, trucking had a bad start. It had a bad name for itself. They made you drive trucks with no brakes. They tried to make you drive trucks with no air conditioning. They tried to get you to do stuff you didn't want to do, but the thing has evolved now into something totally different. You know, I don't understand the mega carrier mentality. I don't. The mega carrier mentality. I don't get it. I don't. Why you people love it so much? You're willing to come on YouTube and promote these companies and say, "Oh, use my driver referral code here. They'll pay me $15 if I get a driver in here using my driver referral." Really? Sad state of affairs, people. Sad, sad state of affairs that this is what we've come to in trucking. In my opinion, it is a sad state of affairs. Anyway, that's all the griping and the complaining I've got. You guys take care of yourself. Look out for one another. Be safe. And we will catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.